It is time for some ninja action here at How Not to Play today. So we are going to talk about how not to play as Genji. This video was supposed to come out the same day as the Bastion video. They were going to be like companion pieces to each other, but I lost all the audio to this video, and so I'm sort of having to sit down and do it right now. We're still on the same map. This is still Volskaya Industries. The team compositions are fairly similar, but we have a couple changes. So let's talk about Genji. I like Genji a lot. I wish I could use Genji better because I like him so much. Genji has a lot of mobility. He's really great. On flat land, Soldier 76 can still outpace him with his sprint. In terms of burst mobility, Tracer still has that over any other character in the game. But Genji's just reliable. His default running speed is pretty high, he can double jump, and he can run up walls, which means he can get to places that other characters cannot. He can get to places where other characters can almost faster than they can, and he can move around in a lot of ways that are sort of unexpected. He can't really keep up with, say, Widowmaker or Pharah, who have a lot of ways to get up fast, like quickly to higher places at a better rate than he can, but when they're up in those positions, he can reach them and punish them, which is phenomenal. The offset to this, sort of the freedom of movement that he has, is that Genji is a very technical character to play as. You need a lot of precision aim as Genji, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and you really need to know what you're doing with your movements. High-level Genjis are totally scary. We'll talk about them in a second. Here's my first mistake of the match. I'm trying to deflect these bombs back at this Junkrat, which in theory is a decent decision, but I have two Reinhardts whose shields I can hide behind. I probably should have stayed behind those shields and just thrown throwing stars. That Junkrat's inside of a doorway. He's an easy target. I should be not as eager to run forward and use my abilities. It's hard because Genji's abilities are really exciting. Deflect is amazing. His sword charge ability is really great too, but it's easy to misuse them. In fact, I'm going to misuse them here too. I throw these throwing stars at this Widowmaker, and I try and follow it up with a melee attack and then a sword dash, and that's a big mistake because I could have just gotten great returns by using my throwing stars again. Instead, I charge forward, I miss, I fall down into the courtyard, and then I'm punished. And because I'm not like those high-level Genji characters that I was talking about, who can jump around and fade in and out of the battlefield and climb up walls and confuse enemies, I get sort of harassed and easily taken care of. Here's one thing that you have to keep in mind with Genji, and it's mostly that if you are getting attacked, you have so many options to get away, as long as you have some knowledge of how the map is composed. But it's very easy to mess up that and not be aware of that movement. Here I'm doing okay with my deflects. Genji, like I said, is highly technical when it comes to aiming. It's a lot of precision, and so when that Widowmaker is firing back at me, I'm trying to aim it back at her, but she's strafing back and forth, which is really smart because she knows that those bullets can potentially come back her way. However, if you're really patient, you can punish players who get greedy, like that Junkrat right there. I know he's going to be throwing out a lot of explosives, so I punish him. This is a big mistake when it comes to my ultimate. I pop it too early. And I pop it too early, which means that I don't know where all the enemies are. And so I rush out, and in that ultimate, I'm fairly exposed. And so when I rush out, I'm trying to get that Hanzo, and I don't know that there's a Bastion like right around that corner, or at least I'm not paying enough attention to know that that Bastion is there, and so I get shut down, and I sort of just waste my ultimate. Here, this is that mobility thing again. I can get up towards that Widowmaker, drive them down, and then this Bastion. This is what Genji's great at, shutting down Bastion. In the Bastion video, I talked about how I think Bastion is strong, and oh boy, at least some people like telling me that Bastion, there are counters against Bastion, and you're right, there are. And luckily, Genji is one of them. Genji's deflect is amazing, and we're going to see it put to a lot of use in this battle, and it's going to be some decent use because I'm not able to follow through on my aim with the throwing stars, so I fall back to using my deflect a lot in order to inflict damage or to drive enemies away. You can deflect a lot of stuff. You can deflect Zenyatta's Discord Orb. The only thing I think you can't reflect is Mei's Ice Beam and Zarya's Laser. I might be wrong about those. I try and deflect Mei's beam in this upcoming, like later in this match, and it doesn't work, so I'm pretty sure you can't. See, I keep on trying to aim at this Widowmaker, but they're moving back and forth, which is really great. Here, I'm going to do something very intentional. I'm going to ping that Bastion. I'm going to try and hit him with my throwing stars to draw his attention, and then when he goes crazy with his turret form, I deflect it all back to him. This is something I just learned from watching a lot of high-level Genji play. You just bait enemies into making mistakes. Sort of like with that Hanzo there too, I know he's going to fire, so I get in his face and deflect back at him, and even though I don't get the kill, I force him to retreat. Here, my cooldown is up, and I'm able to shut down that whole hog ultimate by that Roadhog. Maybe if I had it up a little sooner and my cooldown wasn't kind of a little mistimed, I mean, there's only so much choice and control you have over that, I maybe would have been able to reflect it all back into him. Instead, at least I'm able to shut down that ultimate. I'm able to shut down that Hanzo, who was aiming at us, so I mean, it's a lot of team play, but I'm also able to drive enemies off of the point, which leaves it clear for capture. Genji can do a lot of great things, and that is one of them. He can clear enemies off points by sort of denying them their damage. Here, it's just me going back and forth with that Bastion again. I know that he's probably going to go crazy and attack me, so I just bait him again with the throwing stars, and then I use my deflect. It's pretty good. Genji is great. Once you have a read on how players are going to play, or just have a general idea of how people tend to play certain characters, you can use deflect and a lot of other skills really, really effectively. That Junkrat has been really greedy. He has a lot of abilities that can just bounce right back at me, so I'm going to use that. That Bastion, I've been able to bait pretty easily, so I'm going to use that as well. That Roadhog, he misses the first shotgun blast. I know that there's another one coming up, so I go into my deflect. It's just a pretty good idea. That we're in this corridor, and you would think that that's a disadvantage because it means that me and my teammate are going to get like really focused down, but it also limits where the enemy can fire, which means that I can deflect things back to them properly. Here, I finally remember that Genji has mobility, and yeah, I'm wasting that sword charge, but I'm getting into a good position to use this ultimate. And here's the problem though. I go back towards that Bastion because I really am annoyed by that Bastion, when I probably could have done better by rushing forward and taking out, I think it was a Hanzo. And at least I would have gotten the 2 kills down. I would have shut down their healer, like I did with Lucio, and then I would have shut down a sniper, and it would have just left that Bastion, and my teammates could probably take care of them. Instead, it's kind of a poor trade. It's me and an ultimate use for 1 Lucio. And again, it's also because I didn't have a good idea of where all the enemies were. I knew where that Bastion was. I still should have used deflect. I shouldn't have charged in. Granted, I think 2 ultimate uses, unless it's an explicit tank character, should take them down, but whatever. Here, that Bastion actually got smart. You can see they know I'm coming, and they finally don't just completely unload. They fire in bursts. If you're a Bastion and Genji is harassing you, that's the smart thing to do. Don't let the Genji bait you, bait them into wasting their deflect. So they finally did something right in terms of countering me. I say that really derisively, as if that's like a crappy Bastion player. They're okay, they're playing their position fairly well, but for a while they were getting really aggressive. And Genji is great in the sense that if a player is getting really aggressive, he can respond to them. He can get aggressive in turn, but in actuality, one of the things that Genji is really good at is just being nice and reactive. Here, I'm not going to be reacting fast enough. I get pulled in, I'm going to get hit by that shotgun blast. I don't have high health. If I did, maybe I would have been able to deal with it. I chased down that Roadhog thinking I could get him before he hit the health pack, and I just mistimed it. Also, I probably would have done better, again, if I had that sort of sense of precision aiming with Genji, and I could have shot more throwing stars into that tank's head. Instead, I chase him down, and he's able to turn the tide by taking advantage of my sort of, my zeal for getting the kill. That Bastion's still there. I'm trying to see if I can get him from this side position. I make a mistake here. I make a couple of mistakes. First, I let my Reinhardt get ahead of me when I should just be rotating to match his shields. It might leave me exposed on a certain side, but I will still have the advantage against that Bastion. I should be firing behind shields. In general, I've seen a lot of people who rush ahead of their Reinhardts. Don't do that. and then also I charge in with my sword strike. I'm using that really liberally in this match. You should be using it when you know it's going to kill an enemy, because when you kill an enemy with it, the cooldown on it is instantly recharged. Like, you can just hit someone with it, and then you kill someone, and then you have that ability back. That's sort of what you want to use that ability for, jumping from weak enemy to weak enemy and just moving around the battlefield really fast. Instead, I'm wasting it on a stationary target that I know is probably going to be able to tank it. It's just a mistake. Here, I'm going to try and deflect Mei's Ice Beam. Doesn't work out too well. I don't know if you can, or if I was just messing up, but they freeze me and they get the headshot. So we're getting towards the end of the match. Let's talk about some of the things that we've gone over. Technical play, lots of precision aiming. When you're deflecting, aim back at the enemy. Sometimes aim where you think they're going to be, but that's a little bit of a tricky proposition. Make use of your mobility. Don't forget that you can go around the battlefield and move a lot faster than other characters can. Don't waste your ultimate when you don't know where an enemy is. Be aware that that ultimate can be used to shut down enemies quick, and you just have to be really cognizant of how to do that. With deflex, jumping back to it again, know that you can drive people off the point with that too. And then also just don't waste your sword charge unless you know you're going to kill enemies, or unless you really need to use it for mobility purposes. Otherwise, that's sort of it. Play the game goes to this Bastion guarding a point, because why not? It's probably going to be him or Hanzo, just because of that algorithm. So that was how not to play as Genji. Hopefully I'll get better. Hopefully this helped you get a little better. I will see you around. Bye!